Good evening, everyone. This is the November 2024 regular meeting of the LGBTQIA plus Commission monthly meeting, and I'm Billy Heilman, and I'm going to call the roll, and I'm gonna do that combination from an email and the screen. So Lenny Orbovich is here.
Here, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, if you don't say it right away, but I see you, I'm gonna just count you there. Cece. Cece.
Hey, Billy, I'm here.
Hi, nice to see you. Julian McLean here.
Hi everyone, I'm here as well.
Great. Richard Parsakian. I think he may have emailed that he's not gonna make it.
Yes, that's true. Richard isn't going to be able to make it today.
He's excused. All right. Shantae. Is Shantae present? I don't see Shantae. The Sarah Rosso. I think I see Sarah. Derek Tynes. Is Derek Tynes here? Okay. He's marked absent right now. Guillermo's here. Guillermo Velasquez.
Here.
Yep, gotcha. Nice to see you. I'm here. Kevin Carroll. Is Kevin Carroll here? Kevin absent. Okay, the Barbara Warwick. Is Barbara here?
Hey, Billy, Barb isn't going to be able to make it, but Laura's here as her proxy. I'm guessing no voting power, is just able to kind of pass on information.
Okay, that's great. And who is that? I'm sorry.
Hello, this is Laura,
Barb's
office. Yep, here to listen.
Okay. Well, great. Glad you're here. All right, let me get the other ones. I'm doing this from emails, so I'm not sure who Free Will Pittsburgh is.
That's me, Donnie Donovan.
Okay. All right, Donnie. Sorry for saying your email out loud, but
Sorry.
I don't have a list, so I'm doing it from but I can sort of figure it out here. Alexander Gray, he's here. Yep. And Charisse is not a commissioner, but she's on the email. But I also see a Tony Turby. So Tony, I'm guessing you're a commissioner.
Oh no, Tony's with us.
Yeah,
Tony's with you. Oh,
Tony's
okay.
not a commissioner. Charisse is also not a commissioner, but she might be appointed
Right.
to the mayor's seat at some point.
I got it. Okay. So Tony's support for the meeting. All right. I think I got everyone. Do you think I did, Adriana? Sorry, I didn't have a better list that I did.
No, you're perfect. I'll share a list with you, but I think you got everybody. I think we're good.
Right.
At this time, Lenny, Cece, Julian,
Right.
Sarah, Guillermo, you, Billy, and Donnie and Alexander are all present from my knowledge.
Yep. Looks good.
Phenomenal. All right.
Well then, please, has BH by reading approval minutes? We don't have minutes that I'm aware of to look at and approve tonight.
No,
Okay.
but we can do that in this short-term future, hopefully for our December meeting.
Right. Public comment. Public comment is, we had developed a process to have public comment able to be presented by anyone in the public through our website, but that has not been maintained well. So we have to reinvigorate that process when we get our organization, all the functioning officer positions taking responsibility for that. But what that would involve, just so people who are new know, is monitoring the emails that come in, because the way to make public comment will be through a link on a website that will then populate an email message that the commission has access to. And then we would organize those comments and report on them in this meeting. That is the structure of our public comment plan at this time. But we have to implement it better than we have been able to recently.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, just to do the reports of officers and standing committees, since I'll just say those first couple things, then I'll turn it over to Adriana. But there are, as everyone knows, it's the third Tuesday of each month at 5:30 is our commission meeting throughout the calendar year. And then so you already know that. You get an alert ahead of time with the link. And we have 6 officer positions that make up the executive committee of our commission. And right now we have 2 of the 3 co-chairs filled. The secretary is teetering a little bit. That's me. You can tell by my scrambling tonight to be here on time and do my chores here. The treasurer and the outreach coordinator positions right now are vacant. So we have some work to do in terms of our structure. The prior thing I just mentioned, but also filling these officers' positions, having regular executive committee meetings, and getting the work done through having functioning processes there. And that's all I'll say about that. And Adriana, it's all yours.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please go ahead, Guillermo.
I wanted to see if we can provide a friendly reminder to those commissioners that were not able to attend on Thursday, and we changed the date to Tuesday so that they can participate on Tuesday. Perhaps they're not getting those notifications or something is happening, but we changed the date for a reason.
Yeah, no, completely understandable. I'm not sure what invite went out, just because the invite that I've been sending out to everyone has been for the third Tuesday of every month, but I'm happy to send a reminder out to everybody for the December meeting that it'll be on December 17th, I'm pretty sure is the third Tuesday in December.
And I think we can also add a calendar invite. So rather than it just being by email, that it also goes to everyone, because a lot of people, they'll get an alert on their calendar, and as well as discovering it in their email inbox.
Yeah, the calendar still has the meeting on Thursday, just so that if somebody can change that with the old email account.
Do you see who's in charge of that calendar invite? Just because that's definitely not coming from me. And we can also connect offline to talk about that and figure out what's going on here.
Okay.
Okay. I also wanted to say really quickly, just because we were talking about officer positions and the commission positions, that there is still an open seat for a community member. So if any folks that are watching or any commissioners know anyone that would be interested in joining the commission, we still have 1 seat open that we need to fill. Otherwise, moving into momentum building for the commission. So I left this on from our last agenda just because I don't want it to fall off. I wanted to give updates and ensure that we were staying on top of these things. First and foremost, and anyone feel free to cut in and ask questions or anything along those lines, especially because I'm on my phone today. I might not be able to see everybody if they're like raising their hand or something. Planning a training. I have connected with HR about the SOGI training that I talked about last week. We're trying to figure out a good time to get folks trained. It might be in the new year, like in January, that we're able to get the HR folks trained. As soon as they are trained in SOGI, I will also update the commission and we can go forward and seeing what else needs to happen or what the commission feels is going to be appropriate to ensuring that HR is properly trained and they're able to present appropriate information about gender identity and sexual orientation. I have not gotten the chance to talk to the Office of Community Health and Safety about also getting SOGI trained, but again, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And I think as we're getting closer to that training happening, I'm going to connect with some of their managers and see what we can do to get a good portion of them trained. I believe they have 40 employees in total, or roughly 40 folks in total. So that might look like several people getting trained over the course of a few weeks, but we'll work out that schedule and I'll keep the commission informed. We also talked a little bit about an LGBTQIA plus perception survey. as I said, we didn't build that into the budget. That does not mean that we cannot work like with another organization that is doing some sort of research. It doesn't mean that we can't fundraise or, you know, connect with a university that might be interested in doing that sort of research. So I just wanted to keep that as something that we are interested in, even if we don't have like a perfect way forward. Worst case scenario, that would be something we could also advocate for this coming year and do in 2026. And then for the town halls, I know we talked about wanting to do them in next year. We were thinking, I believe, the first quarter of next year, if I'm not wrong. Anybody can correct me. And I just wanted to take some time to see, is there any other thoughts, comments, ideas for those town halls that would help me and Charisse kind of inform, you know, where it would be best to hold them, what exactly the subject matter is going to be. I know as we continue to plan that, we'll try to create some conciseness as to what's going on there, but especially with everything that's going on in the world, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of demand for that engagement.
Well, I can say we'd always be happy to have, to host one here at True Tea. I don't know if it needs to be at like a city building.
No, it doesn't have to be. No.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that, you know, again, anybody can correct me, but I think a space where a lot of our community members already feel really safe and really comfortable would probably be to our benefit, rather than kind of picking a rec center out of, you know, a haystack and telling everybody to show up there. Not that they wouldn't show up, but I think if folks are already coming there and they're comfortable there, then and y'all are open to using that as a space, then I think that's a great idea. Anybody have any concerns or thoughts on that? Great. And Julian, me and you, I'm gonna email you and we can start to work out just like the simple logistics, maybe give some possible dates and come back to the commission with those ideas if that's okay with you.
Yeah, perfect.
Great. The other thing I wanted to say, and this sucks that I'm not on my computer right now. I might actually be able to log on my computer so I can show you guys this logo. So while we were waiting to meet quorum, and I was a little nervous we wouldn't meet quorum, I showed some of the commissioners the logo that our comms team came up with. And I wanted to show it to all of you. So give me a second, maybe I'll be able to log in now because it looks like the internet's working. So everybody give me a moment of grace. Thank you.
While we're waiting for that, I can say that the LGBTQIA calendar invite for today was sent by you. The one that I have for today, I don't have one for Thursday.
No, yeah, that's kind of my confusion because I've been sending the ones for Tuesday, but I don't have any control over one on a Thursday. So I'll look more into that when we're offline. Okay, I'm hopping on.
All right, everybody, sorry about that delay. So I'm going to share the new logo and see how everybody feels about it. Can everybody see my screen? Amazing. Okay. So the comms team got together. They basically were like, what are we thinking? What are our thoughts? I gave it plain and simple that I would love to use color, more so would love to use the flag if possible. And this is what they came up with. So you can love it, you can hate it, whatever we're feeling. But I'll leave it open to the commissioners to give comment on the logo.
I think it looks great, Adriana. Thank you so much for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Great. So Billy, you can definitely correct me on this. Is it that we have to have discussion on it this month and then we can like vote on whether or not to use it next month?
Well, I think someone can make a motion to adopt this as a logo, and if it gets a second and a vote, that you could leave it up the rest of the meeting then. That's
I make a
moved.
motion.
Yep. Second.
Okay, great. Third.
Phenomenal. Okay, great. Yeah.
all right,
So
so it's moved by Guillermo, seconded by Lenny.
yes.
Okay, all right. And so I don't know, did you want to ask for all in favor and then all opposed?
Yeah, okay. All in favor of adopting this is our new LGBTQIA plus commission logo?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Wonderful. The vote passes. And now we have a new logo, everybody. How wonderful. So as a kind of going right off of this, we now have the ability to get a new tablecloth because we have this new logo. So I can present a mock-up of it, but really it's just going to be a black tablecloth with this giant logo on it for the most part. Should that be a motion or should that just be something that I'm bringing up in the next meeting? Because I'm open to either.
I think we can go ahead to proceed.
Wonderful. Okay.
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Wonderful.
Who's second?
All those in favor of adopting this logo on a tablecloth for the LGBTQIA plus commission, please say aye.
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 And Billy, I was the second. Sorry about that.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Great. Now we have a tablecloth. Look at how easy, everybody. We have a logo and a tablecloth and it took no time at all. So that's great. Love that we're all good there. I'll get that ordered and I'll give you guys some updates as to what's going on there. And then when we have Pride and other wonderful events that we're going to, everybody knows exactly who we are. Going into, does anybody have any comments, concerns about anything we just spoke on before I continue?
I do have a comment, if
Yes.
I may. I think it would be great if we can identify a list of events. And then once we have a list of events, we can decide which ones we can start with. You know, I don't think we can attend to all of them, but we can decide particularly who can attend to which ones, and then we can create some kind of roster or something like that where there's some support.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's also a part of the agenda later on that's going to be really addressing some of this, but I think that's a great idea. I also would say, you know, I think, so part of my role, just for everybody's understanding as the staffer, is so that, you know, if an event is coming up and it's 4 hours long, you know, we don't have to hold the commission. Obviously, we want the commissioners there because I think it matters the most to hear from commissioners as to the work that they're doing. But I will always physically be there because I am paid to be able to staff the commission. So, you know, if there's ever an event and even only one commissioner is able to go, but the commission wants to have a presence there, I will always physically be there to make sure that, you know, our pamphlets are there, our tablecloth is there, everything that needs to happen is happening. So, also, when we are figuring out tabling, I will send out that kind of information for everybody to be informed. So yeah, absolutely, Guillermo. I can definitely look into some events. Also would have other commissioners if they know about events that are coming up that they think that the commission should definitely show face at, then I would love to hear about them. You know, my list is not the end all be all of all events that are happening within our community. So please let me know. Thank you for that, Guillermo. Moving into unfinished business. So last month we worked through the HRC Municipality Quality Index and kind of the places that we were really, really strong and some places that we might want to strengthen or codify or in some way improve our rights or the work that we're doing. I know I had one commissioner reach out to me specifically about wanting to talk more about the gender neutral single stall bathrooms. And so I think this would be a good space for us to, if anybody wants to make a motion or to discuss a specific recommendation that they would like to make, or they would like the commission to make. The way that this whole works is that like y'all would make a recommendation and then I can give you like a draft of what that would look like and I could present that to council on your behalf once I have your approval. So however y'all want to go about that, but I'll give some space to talk through any recommendations that would like to be made on behalf of the commission.
Sure, I could say, I think last time you talked about making making, if you can, all the city buildings, like having an option and just like seeing where that is, what ones would need to be converted or have those options and just kind of like seeing the full picture of the geography of what it looks like and how we can kind of make those options for everybody.
Yeah, so I would have to look into exactly. So we have a lot of city buildings, as I'm sure everybody can imagine. You know, we have the big city county building, but we also have like senior centers and rec centers and a bunch of other little facilities that are around the city. I could probably reach out to some folks and see exactly, might be a little hard to figure out exactly what the bathroom situation looks like in all the buildings, but what could happen here is there could be a recommendation made by the commission to, for instance, make all single stall bathrooms into gender neutral bathrooms.
Esta reunión es
Hold on just a second. Oh, and but we could make a recommendation to make all city facility single stall bathrooms into gender neutral bathrooms, for instance. And then if we made that recommendation and city county or the city council adopted it, then it would be on like city workers to ensure that that change is made. So it's really us recommending stuff to either the mayor or to city council and then them creating legislation or like an amendment or something along those lines that would be able to affirm that recommendation. And then it would be on like city personnel to be able to execute it, if that makes sense.
If it went to council, would they have to secondarily vote on that recommendation as well? And it could be denied.
If it was an ordinance, yeah, they would have to vote on it. Again, I don't see a world where they're gonna deny something that's such an easy lift and is so inclusive to a community that for all purposes is very often targeted in much more significant ways. And so I just, in my head, as somebody who staffs and works with city council and the mayor, I can't see anybody being like, this is too much of a difficult lift to change single stall bathrooms into all gender bathrooms, especially because that might already be happening to some degree. It's just about making sure that that's like in code, if that makes sense.
I know that some people, I was going to say some people have a problem with gender neutral, just the language of that to me, like maybe, I don't know, but like family bathrooms and things of that nature. So I'm not saying that. Yeah.
I mean, you know, if they, yeah, I can definitely just see us having like gender neutral or all gender bathrooms. And then if they want to make them like accessible to parents and have like one of those, I forget what they're called, the baby things, like that's their business to do so. But yeah, I don't think it would be a heavy lift. And I think it would be pretty reasonable of an ask, especially from the LGBTQIA commission.
And I'll also just hop in here to talk about the council perspective for a minute. even like about all gender bathrooms specifically, but also like generally as far as I think recommendations go. I think recommendations, especially at this point, would be like very well received by council because sort of in the wake of the election, I think a lot of offices are looking for things that they can actively do, like pieces of legislation, policies we can actively pass that ensure that whatever happens nationally, that Pittsburgh remains, welcoming and safe. So I think there is like at this point a real like appetite for that on council. So I think just everybody here keeping that in mind might be good. I dream big, I would say.
Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate that. Sarah and Billy, I don't know who put their hand up first.
Well, I'll go. I think it was me, but I think that I'm fine with this recommendation, a recommendation that existing single stall bathrooms be identified as gender neutral. I think there's no problem with doing that. But I do think that what we should recommend is that the city, I don't know if there's a facilities department, but whoever's in charge, there's some overseer of facilities probably in the city organization. But if not, however it's organized, but to have an inventory of all the restrooms in all city buildings, facilities, so that we have an understanding of what the landscape is. Because I think doing that and maybe getting some help on it, but I think that we need more of a recommendation than just the single stall bathrooms. I think we need to look at the entirety of the landscape in this. And then I think we could make some further deeper recommendations on what changes might be needed in terms of identifying particular restrooms, or even recommending that some need to be constructed where there aren't an option. So that I think that we need, otherwise we'll get the single stall bathrooms, we'll get them changed. It might be 5% of all the stalls that exist. I don't know, but it may not have done as much as we might want, and I don't want to be happy about something that isn't really changing things significantly.
I hear you there. I can definitely speak to a few things. I would say, as I said before, I don't know the entire bathroom situation throughout the entire city government. This can be a starting point, does not need to be the end all be all of our recommendations when it comes to restrooms or facilities. So like we could make a recommendation to make single stall bathrooms gender neutral. And we can also ask that we get an inventory of all bathrooms throughout the city and make further recommendations as to what we do there. So that is just an idea. But I agree with you that, I don't see a problem with us looking into the entire situation so we can make further recommendations. Sarah, did you want to say something?
Similar, but a little bit adjacent. I think one of the things that often comes up in conversations about restroom access for gender diverse individuals is a lot of misinformation. And so I think if we make this recommendation, which we should, one of the things that we can do to strengthen it is like a part A, part B, which I think Billy is getting at, is to pull the historic work that was done to advocate at the health department level around policy changes. Because there are specific plumbing code regulations that require like how bathrooms are constructed and whether they can be single stall or not, et cetera. And so, there was some early advocacy work around which version of the PA plumbing code Allegheny County was using, where commissioners were there, had attended, had spoke up. So I think compiling that as a resource with the request probably will help strengthen any questions that city council members may have relative to policy regulations. And then I think we can build on that request to get more nuanced and specific, but we got to start the conversation somewhere.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I definitely think an A and B kind of approach as to what both you and Billy and a few other folks have kind of alluded to definitely makes a lot of sense to see as much impact as possible, you know, when it comes to this situation. So, if the commission decides to push forward this recommendation, I'm also happy to do some of the behind the scenes work to get started on evaluating plumbing code, evaluating what the current situation with bathrooms is. I'd also say we can always make a recommendation that for like future facilities that are built by the city that we include gender neutral bathrooms if depending again on the code and the situation of that specific facility. But Alexander, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just curious if the city did move forward with that plan, who would actually be creating the signage? Is that something that's, farmed out to a vendor? And if possible, would it be possible to use a queer-friendly vendor? I don't know. Just a thought.
These are very fun questions. I do actually work on procurement, so it would really depend on the amount of money that the city would have to put into creating new signage. So let's say the signs already exist in a warehouse somewhere, then they would just put the signs up. If they had to order new signs, depending on the amount of money they'd have to spend, then affects the procurement process of what kind of solicitation it is. And then, going further, obviously, kind of the outreach associated with MWDBE and LGBTQIA businesses. There's no way for the city to like require that a queer owned business would do the signage, but there are ways for us to do better outreach and ensure that like as many businesses that happen to be owned by LGBTQIA plus folks that might be able to do this work are informed about it. And then we kind of have to go off of a concept of like who is the lowest responsible bidder, which is like meeting all of our requirements, ensuring that they did proper outreach. There's a lot that goes into it, but that is all to say it really is about how much money would be associated with making those signs, which again would be impacted by like how many bathrooms there are in the first place. So I think this all goes back to, even if we make this recommendation, it's really important for us to understand exactly what the inventory of all those restrooms looks like. And then it would also be a conversation about what the financial impact of that would be and what that kind of does for us to procure these signs, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments about this? Would we like to table this, or does anybody want to make a motion?
All right, well, I'll make a motion that the LGBTQIA plus commission, A, recommends that all single-use restrooms in City of Pittsburgh facilities are identified as gender neutral. And B, that the commission recommends that the city, through whatever apparatus it has, completes an inventory / study of the restroom facilities in all buildings so that the commission is informed of what is available when someone needs a restroom.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
I second.
it. Oh.
Go ahead, Nancy. You can do it.
All those in favor of one, making a recommendation to make all single stall bathrooms in city facilities designated as all gender bathrooms, and two, to get a thorough inventory of the restrooms within city facilities to evaluate the facilities themselves. Sorry, Billy, if I paraphrase that. Please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Wonderful, guys. Look at us. We're really moving along today. I love it. So another thing I wanted to bring up is the fair housing amendments, which we talked a little bit about last week. For anybody that needs a small, or last month, for anybody that needs a refresher, um, there are proposed amendments to the fair housing. Um, oh my gosh, what is it? Yeah, there are fair housing amendments that have been proposed to change the language for family to be less about bloodline and marriage and more about household, make it much more inclusive in general, is not specific to our community, obviously, but like we obviously understand that many people in our community have more of a chosen family instead of something oriented by bloodline and marriage, and that shouldn't be discounted when they are in their housing. And then secondly, they are changing the zoning guidelines to ensure that if, for instance, like a nursing facility that is no longer operating but is totally functional, like they are no longer have like senior citizens living there, but the property itself is fine, that can be repurposed to be stability housing for folks that are unhoused. So it would be a situation where somebody is already stabilized in like a shelter for several weeks or months, and then they are moved into more stable housing within a facility like that. So the reason this was brought up is because we talked about the commission possibly releasing a statement in support of these fair housing amendments, especially because there's been some fear mongering around having unhoused folks in certain neighborhoods, because some residents feel that it could be dangerous in some way or another. And so I have a statement. I did send it to the exec team, but I wasn't able to get a response back. Would it be all right for me to send the statement to everyone on the commission? Or should I just show it at this time and we can vote on it? I'm open to either option.
Well, I think you have sent it to us.
I did send it, but I didn't hear anything back, so I wasn't sure what we were doing about it.
Yeah.
And I only sent it to the exec team because we had talked about having like an exec session where it was approved. But now that we're at like the general session, I was like, I don't really know what to do with this, so I might as well just put it on the agenda.
Just quick question. You probably don't know this as well, but if we recommend someone, are these housing units get changed? Would they be managed by DHS? Will there be like, will it be standalone? Will they have like other support in addition to just being rehoused?
Yes, no, there would definitely be support services available in them. I'm not sure exactly. It might be the Office of Health and of Community Health and Safety that might I would need to look into exactly who is managing those facilities.
Yeah.
But the specific amendments we're talking about are just making sure that that zoning can happen so that if those facilities exist, that they can be repurposed to create more stable housing for folks.
Right. Yeah.
So, sorry, just what would everybody feel is like the best way to go about sharing that?
I like your idea of sharing the recommendation. That just from the commission itself, that's a recommendation that we support that change. I like that idea.
Hold on, I'll pull the letter up and just show everybody.
Okay.
I think that makes most sense, yes.
Sarah, your hand's up. I don't know if it's from earlier.
All right, sorry, everybody. I had a lot of tabs open. So just in case anybody's using their phone, I'm happy to read this aloud. So it says, I am writing on behalf of the LGBTQIA Plus Commission to express our strong support for the proposed fair housing amendments to the zoning code that aim to create a more inclusive definition of family and enhance options for supportive housing for unhoused individuals. As a commission committed to advocating for the rights and well-being of LGBTQIA plus individuals, we recognize the critical importance of inclusive housing policies. The current definition of family often excludes diverse configurations that reflect the realities of our communities, including chosen families, which are particularly significant for many LGBTQIA plus individuals who may face rejection from their own biological families. By broadening this definition, we can ensure that more people feel recognized, supported, and able to access the housing resources they need. Moreover, the emphasis on providing more supportive housing options for unhoused individuals aligns with our commitment to address the disproportionate rates of homelessness within the LGBTQIA community. Many individuals experience being unhoused not only due to economic factors, but also as a result of discrimination and family rejection. Expanding access to supportive housing is essential for creating safe, stable, and affirming environments for those in need. These proposed changes are a vital step towards fostering a society where everyone, regardless of their familial structure or circumstances, has access to safe and affordable housing. We urge you to prioritize the implementation of these changes as they represent a significant move towards equity and accessibility in housing policy. Thank you for your attention to this important matter. We look forward to seeing these necessary changes enacted and remain committed to supporting efforts that uplift and empower all members of our community. If anybody wants that edited, if anybody thinks there's a concerning part of it, I am more than open to changing it. I just wanted to get this in front of the commission so that we could think about if we wanted to approve it or not, because this will be happening quite soon. This could happen within like the next 2 or 3 weeks where they're voting on this. And I think it is important that our community is showing support.
I motion to approve the letter and send it off as is. I think it's great.
Thank you. Does anybody have a second?
Second.
Yay. Please say aye. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I just blanked because I'm too happy.
Are there any
about
other
this.
comments prior to voting? We should ask that too.
Yes, that's a good point. Anybody have comments, concerns?
I have a potentially very silly question.
Please.
Are there any like actual sites that are being considered for this, or is this just sort of a thinking of the future?
I am sure there are a few places that are specifically, so this is very specific to like the Planning Commission, which I don't oversee. I am very happy to reach out to them to get more information about like, what exactly are we talking about? Because I know that some folks in certain neighborhoods are uncomfortable with this. I think it's because they know of like a site near them that might be rezoned to accommodate unhoused folks. But long story short, I don't have a site at this very moment. That doesn't mean that I can't ask around and find out more information to share with y'all. Any other comments?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And this maybe is just also
Please.
not too big, but the only reason why I bring it up is because, you know, I consider myself a male and also LGBT, but all, at the same time, an individual who is from a different race. So I was wondering if we say individuals of all races, sometimes it's overlooked that, you know, we just see whites and blacks, and, you know, to be honest with you, sometimes all races is kind of like not considered or something. But, you know, again, so it's just, since we are in the discussion.
I have two questions about that. First of all, I have no problem with making this even more inclusive in language. If that is a request from commissioners, I definitely can find a way to include like all identities and all races or something along those lines. I also wanted to know, is there a desire to have this like translated into another language like Spanish and released on behalf of the commission? Like, is that an idea that we would be interested in doing? Because it also would not be a very heavy lift for me to be able to bring this over to our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs and have them translate this into Spanish or another language to be able to release to be more inclusive.
I think that will be a question that I will ask them and see what they think, but I don't think we will hurt.
Okay. Okay.
All right, I'm going to recognize myself since my hand's raised. But
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it, Billy. That's fine.
it's okay. I'm just a smart aleck. Well, I think since there's a motion and a second, and the motion is to approve the letter as written, that the thing to do now is to someone can move to amend the letter. I mean, because we started this process, I think we have to follow it.
Okay.
Approve to amend the letter to have phrasing that includes all races. So having described that process, I'm going to move, I rise to move an amendment to the letter, and that would be to include the phrase all races where appropriate. I don't have the ability to perfectly wordsmith it right now, but I do think that the phrase all races, as Guillermo suggested. Well, anyway, that's it. If there's a second, I'll speak to it. This is really what I should.
I second that. The concept. I second the concept.
Okay. Yeah.
So then I'll finish my thought. Then I'll finish my thought. I mean, really, when you make a motion, you have to get a second, and then you can speak to it. But yeah, I would say I think that he's absolutely right. I think it is also aligned with our bylaws in terms of, essentially fighting racism and other forms of prejudice and discrimination, and that it should be upfront in really everything that we do and issue. And we have been pretty consistent in doing that. So I think Guillermo's idea is great, and I think we should adopt this amendment.
Great.
And he was, let's see, no, it was actually Julian who's the original maker of the motion, so he can say it's a friendly amendment, and then it's just incorporated. Then you don't have to vote on the amendment. That's all I'm saying. It's up to you, Julian.
I mean, yeah, we can do that. I don't know how to read motion, but just the amendment to my motion, and then it's like, is that what you're saying? We haven't already seconded.
Yes, you move to adopt the letter as written.
No. Okay.
So
yeah.
now you're saying, well, okay, fine. That's a good amendment.
Yeah.
We don't have to debate it all night. Just it's friendly. I like that. Go.
Yeah.
Can I ask all those in favor of approving this statement while amended to include all races, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? And maybe this has to be a separate vote, but just out of curiosity, if I ask to have this translated into Spanish, are we okay to release that, or do I need a separate motion to release it in Spanish?
Yeah, you could do that quickly. Just may I have a motion to also have this translated into Spanish?
Can anybody make a motion, please?
You have a hand, so maybe before a motion's made, if Alexander wants to.
Yes, Alexander.
I'm so sorry. I was just also thinking about other, immigrant communities and refugee communities.
Mm-hmm.
Be possible to also have it, translate into Ukrainian, for instance. I know that.
Yes, there are
no
other. Adriana, I think there are languages that the Office of International Immigrants had already recognized. I think there's 7 or so. You can check with them maybe, because they already have identified languages.
So how about we do it this way? Can I have a motion to give the statement over to the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs and have them translate it into as many languages as they find appropriate?
I'm going to make that motion. Oh, sorry.
Amazing. Can I have a second?
Second.
Wonderful. Any comments?
Okay, was that moved? I just want to know who made the motion and seconded it, please.
CC made the motion. Thank
Great.
you.
And the second was?
I think it was me.
Okay, it is now. Okay.
All those in favor of giving the statement over to the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs and allowing them to translate it, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say. Okay, phenomenal. So we're good on that. We'll release that. Also, I will be emailing everyone just to let them know when that is happening, like the vote itself is happening. If you as a person, whether you want to represent yourself as a commissioner or as just an individual, want to come down and talk as to the importance of this housing policy, you are more than welcome to do so. And I will send out that information to you, but that is an individual decision. Is Sarah still available? Is Sarah still on?
I am.
Wonderful. Sarah reached out to me about the county budget meetings that have been happening. And so it's okay with you, Sarah. I was going to pass it off to you to talk a little bit more about with the commission, if that's all right.
Yes, that's fine. And I'll keep it brief because the county council meeting is happening concurrently. So if folks are not aware, County Executive Sarah Innamorato has proposed a county budget that helps fill gaps that are emerging now, because property tax increases have not happened in more than 10 years, and because a lot of stimulus and post-COVID dollars have now come to an end in terms of how programs have been sustained over the last 4, 5, 6 years. And so why that's important is because when we think about our role within the city of Pittsburgh, and services that are available there, a lot of the core social safety net services and programs that impact our communities, direct programs and resources across communities across the county, are funded through the health department and through the Department of Human Services, among many other things. And so there's a proposal to increase property tax millage rates to 2.2 mils. And they are asking for folks who support that proposal to assure the social safety net continues across those services, reach out to their county council person to be able to do so. There's a ton of resources available in terms of talking points and who to talk to and what district you're in, et cetera. But when you think about the fabric of our communities, there's likely not a singular LGBTQ nonprofit, affiliated organization, resource program that isn't impacted by the health department or by DHS in some way. That would include everything from STI testing and outreach, vaccination programs, after school programs, you name it, anything that you can think of, it connects in some way. And while there are specific programs that likely are not going to be cut because they're requirements from the state, it's important to think about how many different programs, projects, and services that really help our communities thrive are sustained. And as we move into what we know will be a difficult time from a funding perspective for equity work overall, it's all the more important. So if you have any questions about that, I just brought that up to let folks know and let folks get resources as they're available. If we want to talk about that more or do something specific as a group, I think that we can talk about how we might show up, or if we want to make an official statement. I think there's a couple of things, simple things that we could do if we wanted to. But more than anything, tonight is the first listening session hearing where folks could sign up and speak. The vote needs to happen before December 6th. So they have to vote on the budget by December 6th and are anticipating a vote early in December.
Thank you for sharing all of that, Sarah. I really appreciate it. Does anybody have
How
any
do we
questions?
access the resources that you identified or alluded to?
Yeah, so I can share those out. If it's easy, I can share those out through the web address. There's a toolkit and a packet. There's social media resources. You'll start to see all of those being shared throughout the day today. They're being sort of produced and managed by the Pittsburgh Foundation and the Greater Pittsburgh Nonprofit Partnership. So between those two entities, they put out some resources. So I can share that toolkit via email with everybody. It gives you some basics on like county maps, talking points, et cetera, for folks who want it, as well as social media toolkits and everything else available. So I will email that as soon as I can get to my computer.
That's amazing, Sarah. Thank you so much. I'd really would love to be as involved as I possibly can with that. I'm sure a lot of the other commissioners would too as well. So that's really wonderful. Thank you for sharing those resources. Does anybody have any other questions? Oh yeah, Alexander, I saw your hand up.
Oh, that was just a clappy emoji of
Yes. Okay,
thank you,
perfect.
Sarah.
Does anybody have any other questions or comments before we move on from this? Okay. These last two should be pretty short. The first one is I met with Jeff from Cuberg this week to talk through some of the things the city is doing to strengthen LGBTQIA rights. Obviously, the commission came up in that conversation. He really expressed a desire to be as connected to the commission as possible. And so he expressed a few things. First of all, he would love to have our meetings on the Cuberg calendar so that as many members of our community know that these meetings are happening as possible. He also expressed that any statements or any other things like recommendations that we release, that he would love to give them a platform on Cuberg. But obviously, that is something that can only be decided upon by the commission. So I let him know that I would bring this up to you all, but very open to questions, comments, motions, whatever you think is appropriate.
No, I'll motion for Cuber to be a platform for the LGBTQIA Commission to use to divulge our information.
Amazing. Do I have a second?
CC, I'm a second that with Julian.
Great. So Billy, just for records, that is Julian and Cece.
Right.
Any other comments or concerns before we do a full vote on that?
Yes, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna comment. I want to know what in your motion, Julian, what platform means. I mean, I think it's appropriate to do press releases, release statements and things like that, but I'm not sure what you mean by Cuberg being a platform for the commission.
Well, it's like stated, just them to be a vehicle for us to divulge our calendar or our meetings on their calendar, any statements or recommendations that we make, but it being a platform as in a way to get out our information. That's what I mean. Whatever information that may be, because it may alter in the future. We may want to put something else on there. So.
Any other questions or comments regarding that? Wonderful. All those in favor of using Cuberg as a platform for statements and for calendars and recommendations and anything else that is specifically appropriate, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
I
Any opposed? Wonderful. And last but not least, just a really quick kind of synopsis on this. Besides me staffing the LGBTQIA Commission, I also staff the Gender Equity Commission. As I'm sure you all can imagine, there should be some overlap there. The Gender Equity Commission was created in 2016 and was very fixated specifically on women and girls and creating equity for women and girls. It was based out of a UN treaty called the Convention to Eliminate Discrimination Against Women, which was created in 1979, and is a really lovely framework from 1979 to talk about how to create equity for women in a national basis for a whole country. But sadly, the US never adopted the treaty. And so a lot of cities, including Pittsburgh, used that international treaty and tried to kind of shorten it down and fit it into a local perspective. Wasn't a perfect fit, as I'm sure you can imagine. And part of my role since I started was to create amendments to that commission and make it much more inclusive. And so a huge part of the work I've done there is to make it incredibly inclusive to people, anyone on the gender spectrum, and that is very much specific to transgender and non-binary people. When we're talking about gender equity, it should not only be women talking about how they have to solve a system that is oppressing them. Everybody should be a part of that conversation, and we should be using data and research to inform that. So long story short, the point that I'm bringing this up to the LGBTQIA Commission is because there is a seat on the Gender Equity Commission designated for one of us. Well, not me, but one of you. And I wanted to bring this to your attention because if anybody here is specifically really interested in being well, I actually don't know how this works exactly from a commission, but I'm pretty sure y'all kind of decide amongst each other who would be your appointee to the Gender Equity Commission. So I just wanted to raise that as a thing. Does not have to be something that is decided on right here, right now. This is probably not going to be meeting until early next year. So we can definitely talk about it more in the December meeting. But I definitely just wanted to flag that for everybody if anybody is specifically interested or wants to talk more about what that means, what that looks like, hear the language. It literally just passed today. Like my amendments just passed council today. So very fresh, very new. Y'all are some of the first people on the block to hear about it. I'm very happy about it. And so if there's any questions about that, I'm happy to answer. If anybody wants to learn more about it, we can definitely talk offline. But yeah.
Was was the creation of a seat on the Gender Equity Commission one of your amendments that passed today?
One of my many amendments, but yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
wonderful.
So there is a seat for somebody from CHR, so the Commission for Human Relations, obviously because they deal with discrimination on an individual basis. There's also a seat for the LGBTQIA Commission. There's actually quite a few seats because sadly, when the commission was created, it just said one member that is active in minority communities. And that is, in my opinion, ridiculous language. There is no person on this earth that's going to be able to represent the needs of all minority communities. So a large portion of my work was not only making the language in the ordinance itself much more inclusive, but the membership really needed to reflect the diversity of Pittsburgh. So there's also like a seat for immigrants and refugees. There's also another seat for emerging communities, which is supposed to be like any minority community whose population is significantly increasing within Pittsburgh. That is kind of like purposely broad so that if there is suddenly like, I was talking to the ADA coordinator, like a huge population of like deaf folks come to Pittsburgh, like they in this context would be able to have a seat to represent the needs of their community. There's also folks from like, there's going to be somebody that is very informed on ADA and disability rights. So there's a lot of inclusion built into there. I just wanted to make sure that the commission was informed about that change because I think us, like as the LGBTQIA Commission and the Gender Equity Commission, working together on recommendations that feel appropriate or on research or policies that feel appropriate is a really great way of showing that this is not only important to our community, but another community at large. So just wanted to inform everybody about that. If anybody has questions, let me know. Great. If there's no comments, we're moving on to announcements. Anybody have any announcements?
Yeah, a lot of us, well, I invited a lot of us to the World AIDS Day event coming up on the 1st of December. AIDS Free Pittsburgh and the Jewish Health Foundation. And so I gave all of them who RSVP'd through me your names and +1s. So I've already done that. So
thank you. Julian, that's
yeah.
so nice of you. I really appreciate that. That's wonderful.
And then we actually have an event. So if there's nothing else that we're going to vote on, we actually have an event right now that's going on. So I'm going to.
Yeah, totally fine. You're all good. Anybody else have any announcements? Thank you. Good to see you.
You as well. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Alexander?
Yeah, just a heads up that tomorrow is the Trans Day of Remembrance, and there will be beaucoup d'activités going on. I think Sisters PGH is doing something over in Swissvale, and I think that starts at 6 p.m. So just want to make sure that was on everyone's radars tomorrow.
No, I think that's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you uplifting that. Anybody else? I'm going to do an awkward shout out. Donnie is one of the 40 under 40, and I wanted to give a little shout out to one of our commissioners. So big congrats to Donnie.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you deserve all the recognition in the world, and I'm very happy for you.
I have one announcement,
yes.
if I may. The Pittsburgh Hispanic Development Corporation is having a home ownership counseling sessions on December the 10th and the 12th in Spanish. If there are any LGBT Latinos that you may know that can attend to this to learn about what it means to buy a house and also to get enrolled in a credit building program to buy a house eventually.
I think that's great. Guillermo, would you mind sending me more information about that so I can maybe
Sure.
send that out, make sure the rest of the office knows about it in case they're working more directly with folks that can definitely benefit from those opportunities. Phenomenal. Anybody else have some fun announcements or some events that are happening? Seeing none, is there an emotion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Yay! I hope everybody has a wonderful November. I'll see you next month. Please let me know if you need anything.